The Good Samaritan, the scandal Jesus never apologized for. What if I told you the hero of Jesus's most famous parable was actually the villain? The story everyone knows, but doesn't really know. Watch to the end. Get ready for Lady Janice's unique style of teaching truth. Let me tell you something, my friends. We've sanitized this story. We've turned it into a cute Sunday school lesson about being nice to people. But when Jesus told this parable, jaws dropped, hearts stopped. Religious leaders clutched their pearls. This wasn't a feel-good story. This was a prophetic bomb. Let's read it together, every single word, because the details matter. Luke 10:25-37, full text. Verse 25. And behold, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? Verse 26. He said to him, What is written in the law? How do you read it? Verse 27. And he answered, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Verse 28. And he said to him, You have answered correctly, do this, and you will live. Verse 29. But he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Verse 30. Jesus replied, A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Verse 31. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him he passed by on the other side. Verse 32. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. Verse 33. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. Verse 34. He went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he set him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. Verse 35. And the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, Take care of him, and whatever more you spend I will repay you when I come back. Verse 36. Which of these 3, do you think, proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers? Verse 37. He said, The one who showed him mercy. And Jesus said to him, You go and do likewise. The ancient context they don't teach you, just listen to this one. The Jericho Road. A highway of death. The road from Jerusalem to Jericho dropped 3,300 feet in just 17 miles. It twisted through rocky terrain perfect for ambushes. The ancient historian Strabo called it a den of thieves. Jews called it the way of blood. This wasn't fiction, this was daily reality. To the priest, not the villain you think. Here's what breaks my heart. We've made the priest the bad guy. But let me give you ancient context that changes everything. According to Levitical law, Numbers 19, 11-16, touching a dead body made you ceremonially unclean for 7 days. This priest was likely coming down from Jerusalem after serving his rotation in the temple. If he touched what appeared to be a corpse, he'd miss his next temple service, lose his income for that period, disappoint his entire family, potentially lose his position. He chose religious duty over human compassion. Sound familiar? How many times do we choose our ministry over the messy person in front of us? 3. The Levite, a religious professional's dilemma. The Levite assisted priests. Same problem, same fear, same choice. But here's the prophetic gem. Jesus placed both religious leaders in the story before the Samaritan on purpose. He was setting up the scandal. For the Samaritan, the enemy as hero. Now we get to the earthquake. Jews and Samaritans hated each other. Not disliked, not disagreed with, hated. The ancient Jewish historian Josephus records that Samaritans scattered human bones in the Jerusalem temple to defile it. Jews traveling north would cross the Jordan River twice to avoid walking through Samaria. When Jesus made a Samaritan the hero of his story, he wasn't being culturally sensitive. He was detonating a theological nuclear bomb, the prophetic gem most people. Here it is, beloved, hold onto your seat. The question the lawyer asked was, Who is my neighbor? Jesus' answer was, "You're asking the wrong question." The lawyer wanted to limit his responsibility. He wanted a definition, a boundary, a legal framework that would let him off the hook. Just tell me who qualifies as my neighbor so I can check that box and move on with my life. But Jesus flipped the entire paradigm. The real question, WHOSE neighbor will you be? Jesus didn't answer, who is your neighbor? He answered, will you be a neighbor? This changes everything. It's not about who deserves your help. It's not about who qualifies. It's not about religious status, racial purity, or theological correctness. It's about who you choose to become. You like knowing truth? Here is what people are saying. This study wrecked me. I thought I knew the Good Samaritan. I had no idea. Lady Janice doesn't just teach. She prophetically applies this parable to our modern context in a way that demands response. I can't walk past people anymore. Sarah M., small group leader. I've been a pastor for 25 years. I've preached on this parable dozens of times. This study showed me layers I never saw before. The connection to eternal life, the blank check compassion, the prophetic indictment of religious systems, absolutely brilliant. Pastor David L., Texas. I bought the hardbound edition to use with my family. The illustrated storybook guide is perfect for teaching my kids. The discussion questions work for my 6-year-old and my 12-year-old. We're going through it together and it's transforming how we live as a family. Jennifer K., homeschool mom, choose your format. Laptop computer digital download, $27 instant access includes. Complete sermon manuscript, PDF. 6-week study guide, PDF. Illustrated storybook discussion guide, PDF. Printable reflection worksheets bonus. Quick reference summary guide, white heavy checkmark. Instant delivery to your email, white heavy checkmark, print at home or read on device, white heavy checkmark, perfect for immediate use, white heavy checkmark, shareable with your small group. For group purchases, add to cart. 27.
What if I told you that Jesus' most famous parable wasn't a feel-good story about being nice? What if I told you it was a scandal? A theological bomb that made religious leaders' jaws drop and their hearts stop? What if the hero of the story was actually the villain? For 2,000 years, we've turned this story into a children's lesson. But when Jesus first told it, people were outraged. Because Jesus just made their enemy the hero. And he's about to do it again. To you. We live in a world that's bleeding out on the side of the road. And the church? We're walking past. Oh, we'll pray about it. We'll post about it. We'll have meetings about it. But will we stop? Will we get our hands dirty? Will we pour out what's valuable to us? Jesus told this story to answer one question. What must I do to inherit eternal life? His answer will wreck you, in the best way possible. I've spent months creating something I believe will transform how you read this parable. An in-depth study that uncovers, this isn't just a Bible study. This is a 6-week journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about love, faith, and what it really means to inherit eternal life. Imagine finishing this study and actually living differently. Not just knowing more, being more. Imagine stopping for the person everyone else walks past. Imagine pouring out your oil and wine for someone who doesn't deserve it. Imagine giving blank check compassion the way Jesus gave it to you. That's what this study does. It moves you from the priest to the Samaritan. I'm offering this complete Good Samaritan study in 2 ways. Digital download, $27 instant access. Complete sermon manuscript. 6-week in-depth study guide. Illustrated storybook discussion guide for families. Reflection questions. Application challenges. Everything you need to teach this or study it personally. Hardbound edition, $47 beautiful, full-color hardbound book, premium paper, stunning illustrations, perfect for small groups, personal study, or as a gift. This is the kind of book you'll keep on your shelf and return to again and again. Order today at embraceamazing.org. That's embraceamazing.org. Use code Samaritan at checkout and get an additional $5 off. Right now, someone is bleeding out on your Jericho road. They don't need your theology. They need your oil and wine. They don't need your opinions. They need your compassion. And this study will show you exactly how to give it. Don't just learn about the Good Samaritan. Become the Good Samaritan. Order now. Start today. Change your world. Whose neighbor will you be?